Big up, big up, big up. Welcome to Liverpool 12th Man Show. I'm Liverpool 12th Man, and I am happy to say welcome back, my Reds, to another edition of the Liverpool 12th Man Show. Anfield is, big up Dustin, by the way, big up, big up. Anfield has already seen one win in its share of drama this season. Excuse me. New signings make their competitive debuts. Transfer sagas are heating up. Contract standoffs are starting to get a little bit of annoyance. Emotional tributes that remind us football is always bigger than the game itself. Today we have got a packed show for you, from Florian Wirtz's first Premier League bow to the latest on Konaté's contract, to Ben Doak's departure, to Alexander Isak's transfer saga, and how Liverpool look heading into a massive clash with Newcastle United. So the Magpies. So sit back, smash the like button. We definitely have to get to that 50 min, of likes, and let's get into it. Big up to Cedric. Big up to Dustin. Like I said earlier, hope that you guys are well. Hope that those that haven't maybe said hello but are just chilling or hanging out. Hello to each and every one of you, whether you're a Red, well, if you're a Red especially, but whether you're a Red or not, big up to everyone joining us. I was going to say I have the game on in the background. I'm sure some of us are watching the Everton Leeds game, or I should say Leeds Everton, since Leeds is a home team. It's not much of one to write home about, to tell you the truth, so far, if you're an Everton fan. But it has been promising if you're a Leeds fan, I'll say that way, because Leeds has definitely been on the front foot when it's come to attacking and the likes. But I don't know. I'm kind of looking to see Leeds win this one. I'd like to see Leeds stay up in the league. It'd be nice. But let's talk about some new faces at Anfield. There was the Friday Night Lights. Wasn't just about the result. It was about the beginning of a new Liverpool era. Summer signings like Jeremie Frimpong. We had obviously Milos, Kerkez, Florian Wirtz. We had Hugo, Ekitike. All made their competitive Anfield debuts, with Ekitike even opening the scoring up for us, which was a really, really well taken goal, by the way. It's 2 times he's taken upon himself to actually really initiate the action, initiate the offense, and hopefully spark us to a win. Unfortunately, we've seen both times end up going to getting equalized, but at least this time it wasn't the case. At least this time we won. But as Arne Slot explained post-match, I would say our early withdrawals were all part of careful management, apparently, meaning like the exits that we've had on our team have been carefully managed. At least that's what some have seen to be the perspective, some not so much. It's fun sometimes to be the host on a panel where you have some that are pro and some that are not so much pro, more so like critical. I won't say negative, but certainly critical of the window so far. And look, Frimpong felt a tight hamstring. That's concerning. Kerkez was already walking the disciplined tightrope against Semenyo. It was very difficult for him to have to handle that talented player for Bournemouth. Endo had to fill in as a fullback with Bradley out and Gomez not fully fit. Wirtz and McAllister were managed because of fitness and recovery. And then you have Ekitike. Slot was cautious. He said he acknowledged the step up from the Bundesliga to Liverpool is enormous. And he was mindful to say that 70 minutes was already a big bonus for him to get out of his striker. And It is somewhat of a concern to me, at least. I would like to see him be able to be match fit. I get the people all saying that a lot of these players have to adjust to the Premier League. I understand that. But at the very same time, it's what preseason's for, you know? It's what we see a lot of our players, recognize the fact that the leagues that they're coming from, whether it's the Bundesliga or La Liga or Serie A, all these leagues are certainly professional leagues enough that they should be able to run a full 90, but all the same. This is a balancing act, people, I know, and it's a long season. So integrating the new signings, protecting them physically, and ensuring they're peaking when it matters the most, that's the most important thing, have them in form and ready to go. That's where it gets very interesting. That's where we have to see some real progression with our team. But I think that, like, my question to the chat would be, what was your impression of the debuts that we got to see at Anfield? Do you think on the whole it was a positive, or do you think it was, a mixed bag maybe? Or do you think of it as like, hey, we've got some room to grow. These players need to step up, or something along those lines? Would love to see what you guys think about that, because I know that some people have recognized that there are some players on this team that definitely need to figure some things out, with their fitness and with their form. But we'll see. If you guys give me an answer, I'll appreciate it. If not, I understand. But again, I would just love to know, and I would also love to know, impressed with Liverpool's new lineup, like as in knowing what our lineup looked like last year. Okay, knowing what our lineup looked like last year, and I'll understand, and it's understandable that one of the key components of our lineup, or two key components of our lineup, are no longer with us on this team. Obviously, Jota is no longer with us in physically, but definitely emotionally and spiritually. But Nunez is also no longer with us in the sense of he has moved on to his team in Saudi Arabia. But going beyond that, we could do Lucho as well. We can't say that Lucho was there either, because Lucho's moved on to Bayern Munich. But do you think overall that this starting 11 is a better starting 11 than our previous starting 11? And I honestly do sincerely would love to hear what you guys think. It would be, you can just tell me yes, or you can just say no. But do you think that this lineup is a better lineup? It's not an easy question to answer, because I know that there are those that look at the lineup. I understand that the lineup that we saw on Friday was somewhat adjusted to accommodate Gravenberch having the new addition to his family, and also being suspended as well, obviously, for that game. So we haven't seen Ryan be a part of the starting lineups for these two games that we've had, one for the Community Shield and this one for our home opener. But it's a real question of, like, do you think that this lineup is stronger, or do you think our lineup last year was stronger? Ooh, Leeds almost scored right there. It's a real solid question, I think. Let's see if you guys have it. Thank you, Max. Thank you. Evening to Hylor, by the way. Evening to Max, Dara, Red Armchair supporter. Good to see you guys in the chat. Hello to Wes. Good to meet you. Good to meet you. Wes is thinking that the Isak deal won't happen. He thinks Guehi will be, and I think he must mean thinks Guehi will happen, and we will keep Elliott and Fetty. Okay. Max is saying, no way. We are so much weaker first 11, and our squad in whole. Okay. All right. Interesting. We've made a bunch of additions and we've made a bunch of subtractions as well. I understand that. Let's see. He says, any injuries and we are finito. I don't know about that one, but we're all welcome to our opinions. We're all welcome to our opinions. That's why we're here to do that, to like field our opinions and have some vigorous debate. I think that when it comes to Trent, I don't know if he's stronger than Frimpong, because I don't know if Frimpong might be a somewhat better defensive player than Trent, to be honest with you. But I think that Trent is an amazing passer and an absolutely amazing passer. I just also have to contribute that when it comes to Frimpong, he is incredibly rapid on the wings. So Trent was never a pace merchant. Trent was never someone that you're like, he's a speed demon or something. But you do get that from Frimpong, as opposed to what Trent could offer you. You're not looking for Trent to do overlaps and even though he did them, but I'm just saying you didn't necessarily look for him to be a force on the wings, bombing forward and getting in behind the defense. Now, with his crosses, the immense ability to have the passing depth that he had allowed for him to be able to maybe not be the fastest player on the pitch, but also allow for him to just, if he has any bit of a window to give a pass off, he's most likely going to deliver an amazing pass. So that is a definite difference. But Frimpong's got a decent passing range as well. He certainly has it. Let's see what else you guys are saying in the chat. Shout out to the streets. The streets have arrived, my people. Shout out to Shankly Reds. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's see. Everyone, Cedric saying, I said hello to Cedric, but he was there early too. Cedric says, everyone getting mad at Kerkez. He will come good. I agree, Cedric. I agree. I'll have to make a note. Let me make a note real quick. At Kerkez to scapegoat FC. All right. I agree with the Kerkez point. A lot of people are very critical of Kerkez. I think that he's young. He's still in the process of developing. It's somewhat the reason why I was saying, look, I don't think that Robbo at this stage of his career is the bona fide starter that we would have day in, day out going through the season. However, you can't dismiss the fact that Robbo has at least a very knowledgeable football IQ that could possibly balance out the difference in the physicality or in the athleticism that you take off from having Kerkez not a part of the starting lineup. And on top of that, I always like to say sometimes it just matters how you look at it. And this is just my perspective. It matters how and what you're looking at trying to incorporate. Or if you're trying to bring in, if you want to have stability, and have like a little bit more stability and familiarity with the lineup, or not the lineup, excuse me, with the strategy and the formation and the way that we conduct ourselves, maybe you go with a Robbo on the left. Maybe you go with a Bradley on the right. But if you want to have the athleticism, or you want to have some of those traits that, the pace and the likes, then you certainly go with Kerkez and you certainly go with Frimpong. I'd also say that, why I'm saying this matters which way you want to go with it is because you could say to yourself, okay, well, I'm going to allow for Robbo to go for the first 60, and then I'll bring on Kerkez to go against possibly a, tired back line, a defense that is just looking to get over the line and then now you have this rapid player in Kerkez being able to take advantage of that. Or maybe do it the opposite way, where you say you try to tire out the back line by having Kerkez in the game for 60, 70 minutes. And then you put in Robbo as maybe a defensive wouldn't say stalwart, but a defensive measure to hold down the next 20, 30 minutes or whatever it is that you're going to put him in for. It's just an idea. It's just an idea. Let's see. Skill set and ceiling potential is higher, Shankly Reds is saying. All right, I think he's talking about Kerkez. Dustin says he actually really likes Frimpong so far, but did you notice he goes left dribbling with his right foot? I did not notice that, but now that you said that, I will be more mindful and check that out. Streets is saying Kerkez will be fine. First big club, it's nerves. Oh, I don't know about that, but I don't know if he's got the jitters because he's now at the Liverpool level. But I will say certainly that playing against your former team isn't easy in any measure of the word. It sometimes gets you, especially since they know what and where to attack against you, since they've had you playing for them for as long as he has, and also because again, it's just the fact that you're playing against people that are your whole team, and you want to do well, and maybe sometimes that gets in your head a little bit too much. Let's see. I will highlight that Hylor because I have that in another segment coming up in a bit when I talk about Doak. I don't even think Kerkez had a bad game. It was just a basic, nothing special game. I thought he had an average game. I think why people might be saying, Dustin, that he had a bad game is because he didn't necessarily neutralize Semenyo. We can all say that. Semenyo is a talented player, but he didn't neutralize him, and he certainly didn't make Bournemouth have to worry about him more so than us having to worry about Semenyo on the attack. I think that's the reason why people have placed him as having a bad game, or at least a subpar game. Maybe not a bad game, but subpar game for the standards that we got to hold. Red Armchair Supporter, shout out to you. Red Bird, shout out to you as well. Early days for Kerkez. We should back him instead of slaughtering him. We are supporters after all, right? That's very true. That is very true, Red Armchair Supporter. Well said. Well said. Let's see. Rasta Crab, not one game, last 3 games, been poor. He's talking to Rasta Crab about something. Only one played game. Get that. I get that. Yeah, we'll have a better sense of all the players. Of all the I'll ask this then to the chat. Some are being maybe hypercritical. Some are being some are allowing for us to see, allowing for these players to develop more. Obviously, it's only one game. However, where is that game? How many games in to the Premier League? Let's go Premier League. Let's not go of any other competitions if we have any ones with maybe international or even anything that is outside the Prem. How many games in do you say is fair to say, okay, now we've given them a run. This is how many games they've played the games, played against a variety of competition. How many games in do you say, okay, this is where I'm going to start being outwardly critical, or at least openly critical, of what these players are offering, or what you're going to evaluate these players at? Can you please tell me that? Please tell me how many games. Is it 5 games? Is it 10 games? Is it 9 games? Is it 15 games? How many games into the Premier League season is the number that you say, okay, I think he's ready for me to say, we've had a good run, and that's how many games you're able to evaluate. I see that Max is saying 10 games in the Prem, and then he can judge. Crab must have said 10 earlier. Is that what he said? because I do see Max said that. Let's see what everyone's saying here. Charity shows a glorified practice session. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm not going to go that far. It's still a trophy, and if anything, Crystal Palace did not play like it was a glorified practice. They were all in to try to win that game, and they rightfully won it in the end. See what else? So 10 games. So far, Max has said 10 games, Premiership. That's when he can judge and evaluate a player. Let's see. Redbird said he's with Crab. He says he judges after 10 games. Okay. Dara is saying, Dara's doing the political answer. He's saying it could be seasons, not games. Look at Gravenberch. Okay. I think we all knew that there was a player, once we saw him, even as an 8, I think he's a talented player. He just didn't get enough. He just unfortunately was getting injured. At least that's what I thought. I was actually asking for him to play DM in his first year and getting told that I'm an idiot for saying that. So go figure, huh? Dustin is saying 5 to 10 games is what he is saying. Okay. Red Armchair Supporter is saying it took Rab until his second season to become good. Okay. Let's see. Hyler, he thinks most people underestimate a team like Bournemouth, but as Slot said in his interview, they are a very well-trained team. As for Kerkez, who had difficulties coping with Semenyo, as most will. Okay. I get what you're saying. I think I'd have to look and see how much was the possession. 1 second. 70th minute. We're coming up on the 70th minute, and it's still 0-0, by the way, in this game. This Leeds United versus Everton matchup. Let me just double check on something. Double check. Because I think we did control a lot of possession. We had like 61% of the possession. So not many teams are going to have more than that. That's a very good game for controlling the ball. He's saying Klopp didn't think there was a player there. Is that for Gravenberch? I absolutely disagree with that one. I don't think that at all. I mean, Klopp rated him enough to go after him, despite the fact that he had struggled with his time at Bayern Munich, and he rated him enough, thought it was enough of a player there that he wanted, and obviously we all know that he had a say in a lot of the transfers. So I think that Klopp absolutely thought there was a player there. Absolutely did. Just didn't. I mean, Klopp doesn't play a lot of players when it comes to integrating players into the team. Klopp doesn't really integrate a player immediately into the team, especially a young player. He hasn't really integrated into being a starter, at least that much. I don't think at all. I think that you've seen that for a lot of things. There's very few players that he's automatically just brought in as a starter, and they just were a starter from the very gate as soon as they were brought into the team. And obviously, Virgil van Dijk is one of those players. But Virgil van Dijk was also, at that time, not a young player. He was, a player well into his 20s, and a player that could certainly withstand being a focal point of our defense. So I don't know. We can see Gravenberch still in traits early first few games. Kerkez looks like a poor man's. Okay, Moreno. I don't know about that. Max does not like, and that does not like Kerkez. It's not all about Kerkez. Okay. Shout out to JK. Big up, big up. What you don't see in those numbers, 12th man, is how much each team worked throughout the match. And the truth is that Bournemouth worked harder than us, and that shouldn't be happening. Okay. Eye test. I don't know what Dara's on about. He says something about not when he was at LFC, two different things. I don't know. You have to elaborate a little bit more. You're not really, I can't really go off of what that means. I'm sorry. Grealish is coming on. Is that what is happening right now? Is he on the pitch right now? Again, I have it in the background. I have it playing behind me, so I'm not distracted completely. Yeah, the Moreno comment is a little bit over the top, I would say. But I mean, Moreno was not that bad a player. He wasn't the greatest of players. No, don't get me wrong. But I mean, he's gone on. He's got a Europa title to his name. How about that? So it's not like he hasn't won anything. Played for obviously Emery thought he was talented enough to get a start, become his starting left back. Eiler is saying, no, not eye test. They are now tools for stats to measure how much each team runs, both individually, sprints, and its total. If you can, Hylor, share with me with what you're saying then. Share with me the link of what you're talking about. Because if you do, because I know that they, one of the apps that I use, if you look at it, it shows momentum. And other than obviously the 2 goals that Bournemouth scored in the second half, which they did have quite a bit of momentum building and the work process and everything that you're talking about, I can agree with that. They were working hard and they were putting us on the back foot. Other than those 2 goals, you don't really see much of any spikes in their momentum when it comes to the momentum chart. If you look at Liverpool, on the other hand, different story. Early in the game, there's very big spikes when it comes to who's controlling. The game kind of withered a little bit towards the middle of the first half, where it wasn't like it was pretty much a 50-50, but more so when we started to build again and we started to press, and then Ekitike's goal, obviously that's when we started having more of those spikes. And then the second half, when we scored our second goal, Cody, a good bit of the beginning of the second half we controlled, and then we obviously controlled. So I'd say like 2/3 of the second half we controlled if you look at the momentum chart. And then if you look at the momentum chart on the first half, it would be half of the first half we control, and then the other half is like a 50-50 wash. So like as in there was really no momentum. It was just kind of like trading shots against each other. But I totally disagree with that, Dara. And I think that why I would disagree with that is because Klopp played Gravenberch in numerous games. Klopp gave Gravenberch starts and tried to get him into the conversation. It was just more so, he was playing. That was when we were playing 2 8s and a 6. We weren't playing a 10 technically and two pivots, having 2 6s. So when we're playing that now, Gravenberch is a natural fit, and obviously the hybrid version of a DM. I know some people don't even like referring to him as a DM, but I still do think of him as a hybrid of a DM. But at the very same time, I wouldn't go as far as to say that Gravenberch arrived and Klopp had his doubts. I don't think Klopp ever had doubts. I think Klopp just had to now manage 2 8s where you would have Dominic Szoboszlai as one of those 8s that he definitely rated. You had Maka as the other 8, which he definitely rated. Okay. And then you had Curtis Jones as an 8, which he definitely rated again. And now out of that mixture, you even could throw in a Elliott, who Klopp obviously rated very highly as a super sub. So that's 4 players. And then you had also the 5th being Gravenberch, a player that he started on numerous occasions when he was fit. And this, unfortunately, he got some injuries that curtailed his progress. So, and it's a matter of everyone's welcome to their own beliefs, but those are the facts. Let's see. Still 0-0, 77th minute. Still 0-0, 77th minute. Big up Nalante. All right, people. Well, before we get too heated on that, how about we talk about a little bit of transfer news, at least. Maybe some player that obviously you're funny, dude. Player that I think that you're missing the point, Dara. We're having a conversation that I think you're just missing the point on. Because I get that you're saying that, yes, he's successful in another role, not a neither role, but another role. I know what you meant. But at the very same time, there was no way that he was going to. Klopp didn't see him as being a DM. So, I don't know what else to tell you. He didn't see him as being a DM. He saw him as being an 8. That's why he played with 2 8s. So he played him as an 8. So that's how Klopp saw him as a player. And thus there was a line to get in to being a starting 8 in this team. To say, I'm not going to go as far as to say that Klopp rated Gravenberch over McAllister, because McAllister never played the DM for us under Klopp. So there's no way I would say McAllister was always first choice as an 8. There's only one more 8 left. Who was the other 8 on our team? Dominic Szoboszlai. He rated him very highly. You're talking about 2 high-priced, 2 players that came in the same window as Gravenberch, but yet you knew that those 2 players, for the most part, were going to be starters in almost every way that you looked at it. And then he didn't transition him to the 6 because he had Endo, who he believed highly in too. Enough so that he eventually started to play Endo as the starting 6. So, again, we can all have our own facts, but our own opinions, but those are the facts. Let's get into this, though. Ben Doak to Bournemouth, the buyback safety net. This is something that was good, people. This is something that again, people might think that Ben Doak's not rated. He might not. People might think that we haven't maybe even given Ben Doak a real fair chance, a real fair shot. I am one of those people that don't think that Ben Doak has unfortunately had a real opportunity to nestle into being a player for us. Fortunately, he's gone on to other teams on loans, done well on loans, come back, had opportunities, and ended up getting injured, which sucks. So the big news of the week so far is that Ben Doak is headed to Bournemouth, the team we just played in a £25 million move. The 19-year-old passed his medical and is set to sign a long-term deal with Bournemouth. But Liverpool have protected themselves with a buyback clause, reportedly around 50 million, which is very interesting. That's a decent number. However, 50 million for a player that's probably going to get, he's going to get a long-term deal. So let's say he gets a 5-year deal. A 50 million pound buyback deal is not that crazy for a player at 24 that possibly has evolved into a real bona fide Premier League talent. That's what it gets to. The deal is fascinating for two reasons. Like I said, the one is that Liverpool see Doak as having elite potential. That's what Liverpool see him as having. So they want to keep control of his future in one way or another, at least have some hand or some tie in holding on to being able to have him be a part of our future. And two, it's the financial ripple of it all. For right now, 25 million might not be over the top money. However, it is still quarters going into the piggy bank. So Bournemouth signing of Doak fills the gap by Dango Tratra moving to Brentford, who in turn may allow for Visa to join Newcastle. And that could accelerate Alexander Isak's path to Liverpool. Oh, that's not a... I don't know if that should be a penalty. I think they're going to give the penalty. Oh, I don't know. That's harsh. But it's Tarkowski, so go figure. So who cares? I can't stand Tarkowski. So they're waiting to see right now to see if he's going to get the penalty or not. The VAR is looking at I thought there was possibly two handballs involved in that one. I think that the other player almost got a handball on it as well. They're waiting. It's a lot. There's a lot going on in this handball. Guy tries to, tuck his arm in behind him, and he gets. And now they're going over every nook and cranny to make sure this isn't a handball. Whereas in our handball call that was on Friday was something where apparently by the ball hitting off his thigh and then hitting his elbow, that's all Michael Oliver looked at when it went to figuring out if it was a handball. He basically said, enough seen, don't need to play the video all the way through. Okay? Don't need to go all the way through. We'll just end right there, despite the fact that the guy literally swiped at the ball. So, but let me give it a little sense. Let me see what they can do with this approach. Pickford took a look at his water bottle. He's trying to do his psych job. And the approach by the Leeds. Oh, sticks the ball underneath Pickford, who chose the right side to go to. However, 1-0 is Leeds' score right now. Oh, what is that dude doing? They got to work on. Leeds got to work on their ground security, man. They're celebrating the goal, and I think it was Tanaka, or someone on for Leeds saw someone like screaming in his ear, and he looked, and it was like this a fan who had stepped over the wall and was on the other side of the pitch with the guys. No bueno. They gotta take care of that ASAP. But all the same, Tarkowski ends up being the culprit to allow for Everton to now have to play chase, and now here we are. But back to what I was saying about Ben Doak. I think it's a football domino that I'm trying to basically explain, or at least talk about. One move sets off another. And in the end, Doak's sale could indirectly be helping Liverpool land their long-term striker target. It would just be another, notch. Because, you look at it this way. If we were able to spend 110 million pounds for Isak before this. Now all of a sudden we have 25 million more in the coffers that we could offer. And there has been word or mention of the fact that we could be making our second bid and making that bid go up to 130, 135, I think was the number. Is that it? That might be with add-ons, but all the same, up to about 135. Because apparently they're trying to say that they're going to give us a 15 million pound discount, is what I read just recently. We'll talk about that more in a little bit, but I'll say this. In the chat, tell me, do you think Liverpool did the right thing by letting Doak go now? With obviously Salah's blocking his natural path to being our right wing. But considering Salah has AFCON this year and there would have been an opportunity for him to step in and be our right wing, did Liverpool do the right thing by letting Doak go now? Or should they have kept him in the squad this season and allow for him to develop even more so with the team? I'm going to ask that right now. It's 87th minute in this game. 1-0 is Leeds. Score over Everton, by the way. I honestly think, I personally think that if the 25 million is going to be one of those dominoes that I spoke of, then, and we have the buyback clause a part of it, I can deal with Doak parting ways with Liverpool at the moment if it means that it helps us secure Isak in our near future. I would also go as far as to say that I don't know if Doak would have been the natural selection to be our right wing, even in AFCON. And that's just because I could see possibly us going with another player, maybe putting a Dominic Szoboszlai in that role or something along those lines, of maybe or maybe even a Frimpong being utilized in that right wing in the AFCON absence. But all the same, tip of the hat to Lady B. Big up to CJ as well. Welcome to the show. That's wild. MM saying that Oxlade-Chamberlain is in talks to terminate his contract, as he has interest in the Prem and Championship. I don't know why he would have interest in the Championship. I'd rather stay in Turkey than stay in the Championship, especially since his team could offer. I'm not sure if they're in Champions League or not this year, but at least he would have some. Most likely, he's either going to Champions League or Europa with his team. I would assume. Red Armchair supporter Richard Hughes balling out again. Okay. I appreciate that, Lady B. I appreciate that. It's always one of my natural remedies in my pursuit to better health is being able to share the airwaves with you guys each and every time. So I appreciate the kind words. Shankly Reds is saying, ooh, that might be a struggle there. He said, Doak is the same level as Wilson and Ryan Kent before they left. I don't know about that. Because none of those that really featured in any games for us. I don't know, Shankly Reds. That's just the way I see it. Might be a little harsh criticism or harsh evaluation. Shankly Reds also thinks that Liverpool is doing too much, in his opinion, or in their opinion. I'm not sure if it's a man or a female. CJ is saying Doak is Calvert-Lewin level. Okay. Oh, Leeds almost scored again right there. That was a great shot. 7 minutes of extra time is going to be applied to this one. We're already into the 90th minute, 91st minute technically. 7 minutes is what they're going to be looking at. That was a nice little rocket of a shot. The buyback clause, like I said, is 50 million. That's what is being reported. It's at 50 million. It's a buyback clause high, Laura. So let's see. No one's really having an opinion about the Doak thing, I guess. Not like that, at least. What is our window? 320 million spent, 228 recouped. Yeah, we've done pretty well this season when it comes to shuffling out some of the players that don't really factor into our present, if not our future. Oh wow, guys are dropping some names here. All right. Well, let me talk about another situation that might be something that will stoke your interest. And that is Ibu. Mr. Konaté is the next big contract headache, people. That's what we have to deal with. I don't know if the situation is messing with his own head in the sense of his concentration and focus on the pitch, but the French defender is on reportedly 70,000 a week. I don't think it's that low, to be honest with you. I think he's on more than that. But if he is on 70,000 a week, okay, that's definitely low. That's certainly low. But at the very same time, it's being said that he's reportedly asking for £200,000 a week to sign a new deal. Now, I've heard, and not being an ITK, but I'm just saying I've read at least reports that he's already gotten those offers. And that it wasn't necessarily about the money, it was more so about the length of contract, than possibly even the signing bonus. That was more of the reason why the hesitation to sign the deal has been done. But Liverpool, meanwhile, want to tie, obviously, his salary to performance incentives, something that we do with a lot of different players. You know, if you look at our salary wages on a lot of our players, they're not extremely high. I get it. Mo Salah, different story, or maybe even VVD now, different story. Wirtz, a little bit of a different story as well, not that much so. You would think he'd be higher on the wage books, but all the same. A lot of the times, these players might not look like they make a lot of money, but because a lot of the incentives that are tied to their contracts, they make quite a bit of money in the end, because a lot of them have incentives to us getting to certain rounds, possibly in our domestic cups, or getting to a certain round in the Champions League. We have incentives to whether we win the Premier League or whether we win the Champions League. You get bonuses from that. Obviously, players are going to get even bonuses for goals, appearances, subs, even times that you're on the bench. That could be a bonus as well. So there's a lot of different ways that they get paid, and they don't have a problem with how much they do. Here's the problem, at least for me, at least. If Konaté doesn't agree to sign an extension, the Reds have to be prepared to sell him before the window shuts, possibly. That's something I know people don't want to hear, but there's no way that we should allow for this player to move on a free, especially not to Real Madrid. And obviously, that would be a big blow to our defense. It would be a big knock towards the solidity of our defense. It would certainly make us have to reemphasize. It would certainly make us have to reemphasize going in and securing this Guehi deal, because Guehi could be a natural selection to replace Ibu if we were to try to do that, try to sell Konaté. Now, I'm not saying I want to sell Konaté simply because of his talent or because of his play on the pitch. Not at all. What I am saying is he needs to figure out what we're going to do with his contract. Otherwise, we need to capitalize on trying to get some type of return for the player. Otherwise, we're doing ourselves a disservice. As much praise as Hughes would have, that would be a certain that to allow for Trent Alexander-Arnold and then allow for Konaté to go would be on a free would be a massive miscalculation in our transfer transfer policies or transfer strategy, because it is deja vu all over with the Trent saga. And I much rather get 35, 40 million, something along those lines, for the player and be able to flip that into paying for Guehi, who has 1 year left in his deal and is looking at very similar circumstances. Because it is the fact that apparently if Guehi doesn't get the move to Liverpool, he'll wait. He'll wait to the end of his contract, play out the year of Crystal Palace, and then leave on a free. But Real Madrid, PSG, Barcelona, even Chelsea, who did make an offer for him already, are watching this very closely develop. I just think Liverpool can't afford to lose another star on a free. And they can't be held ransom or held hostage as this player tries to, gouge some wages out of the wage budget. And this deal could simply define distinctly what our defense is going to look like and what plans are for the next era of our back line and what it will be. Will it be led by Ibu, being obviously a national progressor, to be the heir apparent, or is it going to be someone else that ends up being? Is it going to be a Guehi that's going to be the one that leads us into the next 3, 4, 5 years of our emergence? It is a Mexican standoff, Lady B. They both want guaranteed first teams. It is. It's tough. It's tough. I would even ask, by the way, that game is now gone final. It's 1-0. Leeds has won its home opener versus Everton. Big statement win for Leeds as they try to start their campaign off right, which they just did. Redbird says, he said a while back, Konaté wants to go to Madrid. He hopes he doesn't do a Trent and run his contract down, but Liverpool can't make him leave as he still is under contract. They can't make him leave, but they can certainly influence him into taking a deal. I mean, if you got to think of it. If PSG could be, I wanted to push, I not push, but I would want to see if we're going to move the player on, I'd like to see him go to PSG, be a natural progression for him to go there. And it'd be him returning to Paris. He would love to move to France. He'd be on the best team in France as well. He'd be going back home. A lot of those things would be a natural move for him, I think. And I think that PSG would drop 35 to 40 M's to get Ibu. But it is a question of, who do you rate more? Can I ask that in the chat? Who do you rate more? Who do you think, if we had both players hypothetically on this team, being Guehi and Ibu, who do you think, who would you prefer to see as VVD's partner? Would you prefer to see Guehi or would you prefer to see Ibu? I'd love to see what you guys think of that before I move on to the next. I don't. It's a tough call. I think we're going to have a split. I think we're going to have a split analysis or a split poll of selections by the chat. I think. CJ says it's Konaté by a mile. Kevin says it's Guehi. Redbird says it's Guehi. Okay. Lady B's trying to be very political with the 50-50. You gotta choose one, because both want, as you said, both want first team appearances. Both are vying to play for their national team, so they both want to get time on the pitch. Red Armchair Sports says Guehi. I think Leone is a project. Red for Life says Guehi. Okay. MM says Guehi for him. He's calmer under pressure. His ceiling is higher, and he suits what Slot wants to do better than Ibu. Wow. Dustin says Konaté. We would love to see both of them at Liverpool Mkama. I agree with that, but I'm just asking if you had to, if you were able to influence Slot into playing one or the other, because we got a game, only one can start, because you're obviously not sitting VVD. Who gets to start? Would it be Guehi or would it be Ibu? Let's see. I don't know why CJ is getting offended by the comparison. I think Guehi is obviously one of the best center halves in the Premier League. So I mean, you might not rate him, but I think Guehi has his own set of skill sets that might exceed Konaté, despite the fact that Konaté is got skill sets of his own that exceed Guehi's skill sets. One's been, that doesn't say much, CJ. I'm sorry. One's been part of one of the best defensive partnerships in Europe. Okay. That says little to nothing. It's just a matter of one could be a part of the best defensive partnerships in Europe. And I can honestly argue that Gomez was a better partnership with VVD than Ibu's been at one point. So I don't know where you're trying to take by that. It is telling, though. The majority of the chat has said that they take Guehi over Konaté. Look, CJ, I don't know if you have a crystal ball, but it says very little, in my opinion. You're welcome to have your own opinion. Everyone's really, really trying to test me with their takes today, but it says loads. It won't happen. But what if Guehi flopped? Okay, and what if Ibu still continues to have injury problems, or what if Ibu decides to check out and play for Real Madrid? If we all had if ifs were a fifth, we all be drunk. That's what they say. So it is what it is. Yeah, Konaté. Oh, Trudon is not a fan of Konaté. Thinks he's overrated. Okay. Well, speaking of Guehi, Liverpool have already been busy. Ekitike, Frimpong, Wirtz, Kerkez, Mormadashvili, obviously from last summer, Leone, Pretsky, Woodman, are all in. Big names like Diaz, Nunez, Kelleher, Kwanzaa, Trent have all left, but it's not over. Tsimikas might be another player that is might leave. I might have just stepped on my lead, but talks are ongoing for Palace's Marc Guehi. While Liverpool remain locked in, to see Alexander Isak Saga possibly have a final conclusion. The Reds have a 110 bid rejected, obviously, but as of right now, some say we are expected to put another bid in. Some are saying we aren't supposed to be putting in a second bid. Others are saying that we've already put in a second bid. Some have already made a second bid. But all eyes are on what the Newcastle striker does himself. He has taken himself out of the mix, saying he's not going to play for Newcastle, and he's already missed their opening game. Should be very interesting because we're coming up on the home opener for them, at least, and I think he'll be missing that as well. But meanwhile, like I said earlier, Kostas Tsimikas could be on the way out. There's a couple teams that are very interested in his services. Liverpool are reportedly open to not only maybe taking a transfer for him as a sale, but also are open to maybe even allowing for him to leave on a loan deal. That shows that they are obviously looking to make him available to get playing time, and also they're looking to get him, I wouldn't say off the books, because most likely if we loan him, we most likely would play some percentage of his wages. But we are definitely looking to move on from Tsimikas, which is unfortunate. Tsimikas was a good servant to the club. Harvey Elliott has been linked with RB Leipzig. I personally think that he would be better served if he went to Spurs, to be honest with you, but that's just my perspective. But RB Leipzig is a team that he would be able to certainly start. He won't see, they're not in Champions League this year, so he won't be seeing Europe with RB Leipzig, but maybe he can help them return to Europe. Finally, I already mentioned Ben Doak's sale is all but confirmed. This is shaping up to be one of the most traumatic windows, I would say, in Liverpool's history, considering how many sales we've had, how many purchases we've brought in, and the level of purchases, being the fact that we're breaking English transfer records, and the fact that we might even break another English transfer record. To break 2 transfer records possibly in the same window is incredibly exceptional. But also the levels of players that we brought in have been very, very much high-level players. Brought in a 70, 80 million, a million euro player in Ekitike. We brought in 116 million pound player in Wirtz. We spent 40-some million for about 40 million for Frimpong, 40 million for Kerkez. That's like 80 million right there for those 2 players. Certainly is something to keep an eye on as to how this continues to develop. It's very interesting. I know most of us would certainly say if you had to choose one, you most likely would choose Isak over Guehi, but there are some of us that want to solidify our defense. What do you think is a bigger focus for us to solidify? If we had to make a decision on which shoe falls first, being shoring up our defense with a Guehi purchase or shoring up our offense with the Isak purchase, because we do need another striker on the team, considering that we've allowed for all of our striking options. All of our striker options from last year are no longer with the team. So with that said, do we go with defense or do we go with offense? What is your choice if you had to make the 2 of priorities? Which one would you want to see us get over the line first? Trudon saying he'd forget this Isak thing altogether, that 150 million could go to Guehi and another forward, maybe even a DM to challenge Gravenberch. Okay, that's one way of looking at it, Trudon. Dustin saying he would like Jones as well He asked because people think he's not good because sometimes he holds on to the ball, but he doesn't mind. Some of the Jones comments or Cujo comments are silly. Cujo is a talented Premier League player, continues to develop. He's young. He's obviously at that stage where he's got to make that next step if he wants to be elite. But I would go as far as to say, if you look at some of the numbers that he creates, I get he holds onto the ball too much for some, but if you look at some of the numbers, like he's getting like 95%, 100% passing ratings in games, which is exceptional. Absolutely incredible for a player that is a part of a club or a team that absolutely ends up looking to possess the ball the way that we do. We are right now seriously too few players in attack, so I guess Hyler would go with the attack. Yeah. Coutinho or Jorginho. I got you. You know what you're saying. Trudon is bored of this saga. I got you. All right. Kevin says it is boring. Okay, I got you. Thank God the transfer window is still open in MM's opinion. Hyler said he would argue that we need attacking players before the transfer window slams shut. Just look at how many attacking players we have sold compared to how many we have bought. I can understand that. Take a sip. I can understand that too, in that there are some that still expect, some that even want, but others that expect Chiesa to even still make the move, maybe back to Italy. That's something. CJ wants Barcola, Wharton, and Guehi. Well, that's probably not happening. That is easily £200 million in those three players alone. Crystal Palace want over $100 million for Wharton. They want $40 million for Guehi, and Barcola is looking at probably $40 to $50 million, I would assume, if not more. Let's see. Everyone, a lot of people love Wharton. I get that. I'm not a huge Wharton fan. I'm not saying that he's bad. I would like to see Baleba. I would like to see Baleba before I saw Wharton join the club. I think Baleba offers more, closer towards what we get out of Gravenberch than Wharton. Wharton's a different DM from Gravenberch, and he's certainly a talent in himself, though. That's CJ. I'm not going to argue with you. If you want to just Google it and you'll see what I'm saying. I'm not going to argue. We're not getting Wharton for $60 million. That's not happening. Cry in 2 weeks when we haven't brought in anyone else. I'll get you a tissue and let you rest your head on his shoulder. Okay. Max is in agreement with me. Wharton will cost $100 million. He will. Linda, no, not another $100 million. Yeah. Linda would probably say that to her man. Let's see. We'll see. Well, I think, speaking of Guehi and speaking of, I only said Baleba, by the way, Max, because they're very similar in the price matrix of what their respective teams are looking to get from them. I think 120, I know, is about what Brighton is saying that they would probably want to see from Baleba. But if you came in with 100 million, 110 million, you probably could get that across the line for Baleba. If you go in with 100 million, pound offer for Wharton, you'll get that across the line too. But we're talking about midfields too. Since we're talking about Baleba, we're talking about Wharton. Interesting. Some people are still very focused on the DM role. I think Friday's match showed Liverpool are still learning what Arne Slot requires from them in that midfield. Too many soft free kicks were conceded. I think we can all agree on that. In dangerous areas as well. Too often in midfield without a natural holder of the ball. I think that people are starting to maybe recognize, albeit this player was not a midfielder for us, but maybe people are starting to maybe realize that having a target man like a Lucho that can hold the ball, that can utilize his dribble, that can allow for us to as JK likes to say, regroup or get our shape back. That's something that we are missing. Cody does not provide us that ability when it comes to the ball control that we had from Lucho on the left. Not saying that Cody isn't a threat. He is certainly a threat. I think he's a well-suited left wing for us, but he just brings different skill sets to the table. I'm looking forward to possibly next week having that conversation with going head-to-head against Cal from Kopish on that point, because he has been very critical of Cody. But I think there's a reminder that Ryan Gravenberch's return will be vital to our team once we go up against Newcastle. Szoboszlai impressed. I think Szoboszlai, personally, I had him as being possibly the candidate to be the most, I would say, the most underappreciated player on our team this year. That's how I would say it about Szoboszlai. I think Szoboszlai will be the most underappreciated player on our team because he's got his critics. However, he is very, very influential on the pitch and very, very necessary for us to have success on the pitch as well. But Dom impressed against Bournemouth. McAllister fought hard, but he's still working back from that groin injury. Wirtz already looks pretty much, obviously, you're not going to spend that kind of money, but Wirtz is a nailed-in starter. So there's no worries about, whether Slot is going to be weathering on that decision. Wirtz will be our starting 10, but or will start for us in the midfield. It's just a matter of whether we focus on him being utilized just as the 10, or if we do play him possibly out left, or we utilize him as a striker, as a false 9, or we play with 2 10s, which is what I suggested. I think we should play with 2 10s at times. If we bring out Ekitike, especially at our current state, without another striker, I think then we could still go to a 4-2-4, but allow for the situation to be 2 10s rather than having an outright number 9 or even a false 9, having more of 2 10s and having the 10 Wirtz press forward to take on our striker responsibilities and or even occasionally having Szoboszlai be in that role for us as well. That's just my opinion. That's my perspective and opinion on that. But Liverpool's midfield is in a state of evolution. It will definitely depend on depth, rotation, being more, shout out to Rasta Crab, being more streetwise defensively. Slot knows this, and it'll be one of the keys to sustaining, I think it'll be sustaining another title challenge for us. And I think that's important because our midfield is our engine. One of the most unique, I wouldn't say unique, but one of the things I can't emphasize enough is the reason why I do rate Szoboszlai is that he has an incredible engine on him. And him, McAllister has an incredible engine on him. Gravenberch, the same. Those 3 players in our midfield, I think, are possibly the best midfield that we have to offer. However, we have, with the addition of Wirtz, who isn't going to decrease that status. Now it's a matter of how we either rotate or find some healthy balance to get those players involved, because I think that all those players are worthy of being included in our circumstances. Okay, guys are going at it in chat a little bit, but what midfielder do you guys want to bring in? What's the midfielder that you would like to bring in the most? Which Liverpool, or not even look at it that way, not even bring in, which Liverpool midfielder needs to step up the most this season to balance out Wirtz attacking? We're not getting Declan Rice, so let's move on from that. Which Liverpool midfielder needs to step up the most this season to make our midfield be just that, the best midfield in the Premier League? On paper, I think that we are the best midfield in the league. Obviously, they've got to go out there and show and prove. But which Liverpool midfielder, in your opinion, needs to step up the most this season to balance out Wirtz's attacking license? Meaning, like, what player is going to allow for Wirtz to not have to track back or not have to be so heavily involved in our defense? We want him to go forward. We want him to be the player that moves us in the direction of attack. We're going to need him, in my opinion, again, to be what we are missing out in not having a Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think he is the replacement to that concept for us. Being that facilitator, being that option. And I think the one unique thing about Wirtz is that Trent Alexander had it. Obviously, he's got a foot on him and he's able to score, but he wasn't a dynamic scorer. I think Wirtz has that ability to be a dynamic scorer. But let me see. Dominic needs more goals. Dustin is saying definitely Szoboszlai has. He was very up and down last season, so he's thinking Dustin saying Dominic needs to be the person that steps up the most. I think Max is saying Curtis Jones possibly has to be the one that steps up the most. That's a interesting, and I can understand a good perspective, especially if Curtis Jones is going to be one of the first options off the bench. We're going to need him to be able to step up and not only have no dip in performance when it comes to taking over whoever's role he's taking over in the midfield. Dustin says he would like to say Neone, but he's not going to get the minutes. I agree with that. I don't think he's going to get enough minutes to qualify for that. Wirtz needs to bulk up this Premiership. I get you. All right. Well, I just was wondering what you guys were feeling, who you guys thought. CJ, yeah, but he ghosted versus PJ, for example. Yeah, Curtis Jones was not really a lot of PS. It depends on which PSG game you're talking about, but PSG, against PSG, Curtis Jones, I mean, heck, against Bournemouth, I didn't even recognize Curtis Jones was on the pitch, to be honest with you, unfortunately. And I'm a big Curtis Jones fan. I'm a big shout out to Curtis, definitely, and his missus as well. Two people I got to meet both of them in Los Angeles, so definitely big up to both of them. But yeah, I'm a big Curtis Jones fan. That's a good shout. That's a very good shout. Well, it's going to be interesting to see who does step up, to be honest with you. It's going to be very interesting to see who steps up. Well, this part of the this part of the show, I'm sure some will not like, considering people are not very into the saga. I see Trudon does not rate Jones. He frustrates him. I got you. Yeah, I did get to meet Cujo. It was for his 21st birthday. I got to meet him when he was in Los Angeles. He was in LA. I was like one of the few people that knew who he was, because like a lot of players, they can come to America and not get hassled. For the most part, they can. I'm very interested to see what happens with Son now that he's in LA. I think it's going to be incredible what happens with Son. I think he's already Son has already broken the record for most kit sales or something like that. I think for a new player to the MLS. The Korean community in LA is vibrant and is very, very active. And Koreatown is one of the coolest spots to go to if you ever travel to Los Angeles. Obviously I love myself some Korean barbecue, so I find myself there quite a bit. But yeah, Son would be a little bit different story. If he ever steps out, I'm sure people will notice him. But yeah, not many people recognize Cujo up in the club. But I did. I was like, what? That's my dude. All right. Anyway, Newcastle drew 0-0 at Villa Park. And I think the stat that jumped off the page for me is that they haven't won any of their last 6 Premier League matches without Alexander Isak. Put that into perspective. They haven't won any of the last 6 Premier League matches that they've been a part of that Isak wasn't active in. And I'd even go as far as something that really catches your eye is that they have failed to score in their last 4 matches. That underlines to me just how vital Isak is to them and how disabling it is for him to be doing this strike, for Liverpool to be actively pursuing it, or at least actively open to him joining our club as a distraction to him, or distraction for the club. Anthony Gordon made some comments just recently, very interesting too. And he admitted that he's adapting his role at Newcastle with the absence of Isak. He is now becoming a makeshift striker for them. But the situation is testing Newcastle's togetherness, I think, altogether. I can't see that happening, by the way. I don't see that as a viable option for them to pursue. They're going to need to get visa. They're going to need to get, I think they're looking at Ramos from PSG. There's another player that they're looking at too. Someone in the chat maybe can help me out with the name of the player that they're trying to get. I'm trying to remember who else they're trying to get. I forget the name of the player. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. No, not him. What was it? I'm trying to think of who they're looking at. I can't remember. Does anyone remember? There's another player that they're looking at. Look at Ramos and Visa as being options, and then Ramos from. I remember. I do remember now. It's because I don't know too much about the player, but I'll put Nicholas Jackson. I don't know why. I mean, I knew that one, but Nicholas Jackson, they want like 85 million or something in that ballpark for Nicholas. That's a lot. Not saying Nicholas Jackson isn't a talent. That's a lot. That is a lot. But I don't know. Tell me if anyone rates this other player that they're apparently after. Let me see if I can find him in my notes up here. Let's see. Oh, he's a Porto player, by the way, too. He plays for Porto. FC Porto. All right. See what he did last year. I think it's only his second year in the league. 19 goals last year. Porto's striker played in a gang of games for them. I think I had 30 starts or something. Yeah, played in 30, started 23 games. They were linked with Fratisi today. Maybe they will play Joe Linton as a false nine. Be interesting. That'd be interesting, if they were to go back with trying to put Joe Linton up front. Be very, very interesting. He would not be a bad selection as a false nine, to be honest with you. Not a bad selection. Who else are you looking at now? Who else was the player? Let me see who else you guys is talking about. I don't know who that player is. Let me see if I can spell it down. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know who that player is, Kevin, to be honest with you. Litton isn't good. He just intimidates people, just like Rudiger. All right. That's Barnes. That's a friend of the show, Bayesian Reds. Barnes is guy. Apparently that's his guy. Linton is his guy. So far it's Gordon in the false nine. Dustin saying. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Max says Linton. As far as the Joe Linton thing, if it works, don't change it. Linton has found his role as an awesome midfielder. Okay. 85 million for Nicholas Jackson is just absolutely absurd. But then again, 85 million pounds is absurd. That would be paying 100 million euros technically for Nicholas Jackson. I say that in euros because whenever we saw the Sesko or even with Ekitike or Arsenal striker, they all were, even though they were high in the numbers, a lot of times the reason why those numbers seemed excessive is because they were in euros and not in the other pounds. Let's see what else. But I do think that I think it was absurd what he had to say. I do not rate Gordon. Everyone knows my disdainment for Gordon as a player, even as a little bit of as a person, but more so as a player, not as a person. I don't really hold anything against him as a person. But Gordon has some choice words to say about what he thinks is going to happen. He also thinks that he can fill the role for striker for Newcastle. Didn't do much against. Didn't do much against Villa. Had a couple opportunities. Looked like a winger trying to play striker with the opportunities that he had. With Liverpool heading to St. James Park next Monday, it's only going to be, it looks like it's going to be 7 days away from today. The atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric. It's not only going to be electric, I think, unfortunately, it is going to be borderline toxic. I do hope and pray for the safety of our traveling fans, and that they don't get pushed into any altercations with some of the Newcastle Magpies, because I know that there will be some that don't have that high of an opinion towards us and our team and our fan base at the moment, especially with us pushing for the Isak situation. But I think it's going to be possibly one of the most intriguing, if not the biggest game. It's good. It's great that they made it a Monday game, because that means that we'll get our own window of being the only game to be featured, having all eyes on us the similar way that we had all eyes on us for Friday. I'm sure there will be plenty of rival content creators out there that are going to be doing the hate-alongs as well against us. But it's very interesting to see what is going to happen with this upcoming game. Very interesting. I know there is something. I'll bring it up tomorrow about with Gordon, but Gordon's a unique Gordon's a unique player in himself. It's funny how he's being used as a testament to Newcastle, as a player that is doing it the right way and the likes. But yet he's a player that pushed his way out of Everton, refused to play for Everton, and pushed his way out of Everton to get the Newcastle move. But I'll go into more depth in that tomorrow. It's a very interesting thing. Oh, wow. Let's not go that far. I think that we are looking at a player that will do well against. I'm hoping that we can have a coming out party for Wirtz. Have a little Diana Ross song being sung in the background as he breaks in on the scoring barrage. How about that for getting us some goals, or maybe even some assists? Let me bring up this because I forgot to bring this up. Just an update on sales. With the sale of Ben Doak, which is now official, Liverpool have sold 226 million this summer. With it's quite a feat, which brings up the net spending, if you consider net spending to be a thing, to 103,750,000, not 192 this summer. Pretty good. Pretty good business. Pretty good business. Oh, Dustin, I remember Diogo versus Everton. I do remember that. It's one of the reasons why I cannot stand the pigeon. One of the key reasons why I cannot stand the pigeon. There's no love lost on the pigeon. The way he went and tried to injure Diogo in that game was horrible. was so abhorrible. It's the reason why I applauded. The reason why I applauded BVD when Richarlison got knocked to the ground and BB did the old extend the hand and it's psych. Oh man, that was funny. I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but that was a funny segment. Last but not least, as we get closer to, we're already past the 90-minute mark of the show. I'm not going to be on some. I'm not going to bring up the content creator's name that said some, I think, poor chosen words for us remembering Jota and us making a point to remember him in every opportunity that we can. But last but not least, we got to close on something bigger than football. Finally, we get to close on something bigger than football. I think the Anfield mosaic tribute to not only Jota, but also to his brother was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It was a beautiful mosaic that highlighted both Andre Silva, and I believe it was breathtaking as well for, obviously, Diogo Jota. The fans, the players, the silence before kickoff, it was a moment that united the club, I really believe. I think and hope that it's a moment that can unite us as Reds fans as well, in recognizing that life is precious and every day, every game that we get to enjoy with each other is a blessing in itself. Chiesa, who scored, said his goal was dedicated to Jota. I thought that was a beautiful, beautiful sentiment as well. McAllister spoke of the unforgettable atmosphere that was there. I even have to give a shout out to Darwin Nunez, no longer with the team. However, Darwin Nunez is still and always will be a Red in the majority of our hearts in the way that it should be, considering he helped us to number 20. Darwin Nunez, often criticized, unfairly criticized, I believe at times, showed his heart by resharing the tributes, adding his own words, also liking Mohamed Salah's, Macca's comments about the tribute in general, and about how he was happy to see us win, and how he was very much so appreciative of the fact that we were able to have a unified moment to recognize Jota and show love to not only his memory, his brother's memory, but also show love to their families and give as much sympathy and empathy that we can for their loss. I just think moments like this remind us that football is just that. It's a game, and that every moment, again, that we get to share this game, something some of us played as children or as adults, or continue to play as adults. It makes football recognized as football's family, it's community, it's memory. It's a memory that we hold. And on Friday night, Liverpool once again showed the world what makes Anfield special, in my opinion. And it was a beautiful, beautiful, moment to be able to share with all that were there. It's tough thinking about it at times. I can understand why and how we could see it in Mo's eyes as he began to tear up. they're going to have Jota's locker is still a part of the locker room. So every time they step into that locker room, they're going to be reminded that he's there with them. Maybe not physically, but he will be always there in their hearts and in their minds. So I'm hoping that they can persevere this year and really, really be able to give credit to a good season, a very good season. So, all right, we're a little bit over 90 minutes. I'm not going to be doing 2 hours today, so want to end by saying what a start to the season. Drama, goals, transfers, tributes. Liverpool is still a work in progress, obviously, as we figure out our midfield. We figure out how we're going to solidify that back line and our defensive efforts. How we figure out what's going to be our striker options beyond Ekitike. But there's signs, people. There are signs that are there that this team has heart. This team has the will of a champion. Chiesa showed us that on Friday. New players are going to bed in eventually, even more so than they have already. The squad is certainly reshaping into another form of itself. And Anfield remains just that, the beating heart of this football club, obviously. I think Anfield was one of the major reasons why, with the atmosphere they created, was one of the major reasons why we were able to get that win on Friday. And it's why, if anything, next Monday, we're going to really need to dig deep to get this win against a good Newcastle team. But I'd like to thank you for joining us. I'd also like to say smash that like, please. Drop your thoughts in the comments if you're watching this on the replay, especially. Tell us what it is that you wanted to comment live that you didn't get the opportunity to do so, or even if you had something that you didn't get a chance to say, or something that maybe maybe something you think of later on. Drop in the comments. I always do my best to try to answer each and every comment directly, with more than just a thumbs up or a like. Please subscribe if you haven't, because we're going to definitely be doing a Newcastle preview, but we're going to have a bunch of shows in between. I'll allow for this real quick too. If there's something you guys wanted to bring up or wanted to ask me, certainly now is the time. You can definitely bring up a question here or there before I close the curtain here and allow for you to enjoy the rest of your Monday evening, or Monday morning, or Monday afternoon, or whichever when you're watching this. Okay. I don't know where they're going with it. Max is a Liverpool fan, if anybody is wondering. He is definitely a Liverpool fan. And if he was a Leicester fan, then he would have a LCFC in there. Dustin, what is your question? Tell me what your question is, and I will do my best to answer. And I can hang out for a couple more minutes. Tell me what your question is. I am all ears. Question. If you had to choose one player from the squad to represent your playing style, who would it be? On this current team, I'm taking it, that's the question. If you had to choose one player from the squad to represent your playing style, who would it be? Oh, to represent my playing style, as in like what, me personally? Oh, that's a different story. That's a good question. Very good question. I think, even though I did play goalkeeper, I did play in the midfield as well. I did play in the midfield. We call them halfbacks here in America, like center halfback, left halfback, right halfback. But I played left and right halfback. If I had to pick a player that I believe represents my playing style, I probably would say, I'm trying to think of the best player. I'll have to think about that. I would love to think of myself as being like Maka or even Wirtz, but I mean Maka and Wirtz, they're more of the generals on the pitch. I would have said Darwin because I'm more of like I like to when I played I did play also whenever I'm playing pickup ball, I play striker. I don't play goal. Obviously, when you're playing pickup ball, if you're playing like 5-on-5, or playing even like a larger squad because in where I used to play was in DC, and you play at the Mall Grounds, which is basically right by the Capitol, and there's tons and tons of games that are picked up right there, and it's just a matter of like you just put two cones down, and it's all about you don't really have like a outright goalkeeper that's like in goal settings, but that's a very good question. I think maybe Frimpong, maybe. I think is the only closest player probably to the way I would have played my style of playing. I just try to utilize. I was more of a pace merchant than I was a controller or a type of like dribbler. Yeah, I was more of like a pace merchant. I like to think of myself as that's the reason why I remember we were talking about players. I was going to bring up Roy Lassiter one time, and no one knew who that was, but I see myself more like that than anything. As someone that kick and run. I'll chase down. I'll beat anyone to that ball. But yeah, that'd probably be my style. I can't think of anyone else though. We don't really have. I mean, like Ben Doak's no longer part of the team now, and there's not really that many players that are like speedsters on our team. That other than Frimpong, who else is a pace merchant on our team? I don't really think so. I say pace merchant in all due respect. Not that that's not negative at all towards it. If I had to pick someone that I would love to be, I would probably say I probably would be like I would like to see myself as being Virgil van Dijk. There you go. Because I'll go into a tackle. I will definitely go into a tackle. That was a good question. Very good question, Dustin. Any other questions? Let's see if anyone else has a question for me before we bounce. Got a couple more seconds before I said I would be tapping out. Tell us who you would be, Dustin, by the way. Tell us who you would be. MM says that he thinks he's like Cody. Okay, goal scorer winger. You could probably. I mean, I don't think Cody is a speedster, but I definitely had similar. I wasn't more of like I wasn't someone that did a lot of tricks with the ball. I was more direct, the same way Cody is. So I guess I would say I'm more like Cody in essence too. I don't think Cody has the speed that I would try to remember myself as having at one point. Yeah. Oh, I remember. I remember one time sometimes you talk trash on the pitch. And I remember there was this one person that was just constantly fouling and they were just practically hugging me the entire match. And I was playing striker I was playing center forward at the time. And I just remember I finally got an opportunity to get the ball on a nice pass. I just remembered saying bye just to that person. It was just taking off. Left that person in the dust. But that is what it is. Memories. Oh, memories. Gotta love pickup games too. It wasn't even a pickup game. It was actually an organized game. It wasn't an organized game. But let's see, what else? I gave you an answer. I would have definitely said my game is I would have, even if I was picking someone, I would have said probably like Divock Origi. How about that? That's my game. But those players aren't a part of the squad, so. What else are we saying? Oh, okay. McVirtz. I got you. Dustin is McVirtz. We're going to have a fun show coming up this week. I'm going to be bringing out something I call Scapegoat FC. I think of that as being interesting. We're going to have it where, if you can, you know what, try to come up with your best. Oh, Philip, I hope that your day gets better, by the way. I certainly hope that your day gets better. As always, my brother. Is anyone simi with Konaté's bozo moments? No. But we're going to have an episode. It's going to be a fun episode because it's going to put a lot of perception on some of these fellow fans that are going to be probably calling out certain players as being either not good enough, or they're bums or donkeys or whatever they want to try to say against a player, or making like comparisons to players that are beyond insulting. But it's going to be a fun episode because you'll see what the logic is behind it. It's going to be a 2-tier style episode that we're going to create some nominees, and then the second tier I'll explain when we get into the episode. But it's going to be called Scapegoat FC, and we're going to find out who we think are going to be true nominees this year of who we think are going to be the scapegoats that are going to be thrown into the mix. Quite a few returning, quite a few that are going to be joining the ranks. And now that we've had some of those other players leave the ranks, Lucho, Darwin, no longer can pick on them. So it's going to be very interesting to see who's going to be the ones we choose to pick on. But people, we are coming up on the 2-hour mark. It's about all the time I can give for today. But I hope that your day gets better, especially Philip. I hope that your day gets better. We will be back with you tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll be able to put together a nice little panel for you so we can really get a concise idea of whatever goes on. But it might be transfer news. If some good, big, important news drops tomorrow, we'll probably do that episode. But if not, I would say expect to see the Scapegoat FC tomorrow. So either way, I hope to see you there. And either way, I would love to say thank you for making this a great show. Really appreciate the numbers that we're getting lately. Please help us get to 50 likes. Help us continue our march towards 1,000 subscribers. Very, very important. It's for us to like continue that push. Shout out to each and every one of you that is an OG or even a new G. Appreciate you that you're part of the Mighty Reds Army here. And people, most important, as we all know, you'll never walk alone. I would love to say also, up the Reds each and every time, my brothers and sisters, up the Reds. Thank you for your support, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.